Hello, my name is Dr. J. Sordean. I am a certified traditional naturopath and a state nationally licensed acupuncturist with a special expertise in diabetes prevention and prediabetes reversal. Today, I am going to shock you with information that could potentially save your life and the lives of your loved ones. Would that be all right with you? So, let's start with a simple question. Did you know that almost 1 out of 4 people in America are either diabetic or pre-diabetic? Well, according to the CDC, 57 million Americans are pre-diabetic and 24 million are diabetic. Unfortunately, this disease does not generate fear because it can simmer for years, damaging the heart, kidney, eyes, and other organs, damage that only often surfaces in the middle age. And tragically, this damage is accepted by many doctors as a simple part of the aging process. In fact, people are usually diabetic for years before being actually diagnosed. There should be an outcry about this because it is estimated that in the next 24 hours, 2,200 people will be diagnosed with diabetes. Over 500 will die from it, and almost 220 will go blind or have an amputation. There are even more complications, including heart disease, high blood pressure, nervous system damage, liver disease, and Alzheimer's. So, why is there an epidemic of type 2 diabetes? Well, while there is a genetic component to diabetes, people have full control as to whether they get it or not, largely by the choices they make in their diet and exercise. The core problem has to do with people's eating habits and its consequences that include the following: excessive weight, especially abdominal fat, lack of nutrients, as people eat junk and processed foods, and a lack of exercise. Here, you can see how our food habits have changed over time with just sugar and grain consumption alone. Almost a 40-fold increase with sugar alone. You might be wondering where all the sugar is coming from. Well, here is a clue. Just look at the typical foods people eat, and you will see they all have high carbohydrate content, which can be as unhealthy as refined sugar if overeaten. Bad food habits induce stresses to the human body. Those promote all kinds of diseases. Junk food will increase consumption of refined sugar, sodium, and saturated fat, while eating junk food reduces the consumption of vegetables, fibers, key minerals, omega-3 fats, vitamins, antioxidants, and beneficial probiotic bacteria. The other side of the coin is the increase in portion size and calorie intake since the 1970s. Portion sizes were about half what they are today. How have our eating habits affected us? Look at our weight 20 years ago. No state had a high obesity rate, and most were less than 10%. Today, though, no state has an obesity rate below 10%, and most are over 25%. In addition, our healthcare system is not promoting prevention. We are waiting for disease conditions to set in, and then we manage the disease. This is why experts are predicting America will go bankrupt with health care costs. We are already seeing the effect of this disease care system on companies and individuals. The status quo is not sustainable, especially when the Center for Disease Control is predicting that if nothing changes, out of all infants born today, 1 out of 3 will become diabetic as adults in the future. The bad news is that there's no silver bullet to solve this problem. Yet the good news is diabetes is preventable. Let's analyze the progression of diabetes. As we've said, for most people, it starts with bad eating habits that result in excess weight and nutritional deficiencies. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance, which is where people start noticing high levels of blood glucose, which are resulting from defects in insulin production and receptor sensitivity. This then causes sugar to build up in the body. In conjunction with these changes, people also start noticing elevated lipid levels, such as triglycerides and LDL cholesterol. However, years before people are diagnosed with diabetes, they are in what is called a pre-diabetic zone. But what is really crazy with our health care system is that the typical physician will monitor elevated blood sugar levels and then wait for people to become diabetic. And then they begin giving them medication. What is not explained is that for about 90% of people who do go into conventional care and use diabetic medications, the complications are not prevented. So, what is conventional care for diabetes and prediabetes? Well, some will be prescribed high blood pressure medications and or statin drugs. Once diabetic, though, people are put on certain diabetic medication and recommended an eating plan that's actually quite useless, and in fact can even be dangerous for people with diabetes. These steps do not get the condition under control. Under 12% of diabetics being treated with medication have their blood pressure, blood sugars, and cholesterol under control. Repeat, that is under 12%. These are not great odds. The best way to beat this disease is to prevent it. This was proven in a landmark study in 2001 that showed prediabetes can be prevented from becoming diabetes with weight management, correct eating habits, and regular exercise. So the easiest way to determine if you are pre-diabetic is to answer a questionnaire available with this presentation that will highlight probability of pre-diabetes. Now, you're asking, so how can pre-diabetes reversal be accomplished? Well, first, we need to get rid of abdominal fat, as it drives the condition called metabolic syndrome. People will then see immediate changes, such as damaging inflammatory chemicals released by fat cells, a reduction of that. People also need to have healthy food habits, optimally eating 3 times a day, eating fruits, veggies, and fiber in combination with protein, which gives the body crucial amino acids that are needed to build muscle mass instead of building fat, and by minimizing junk food, which is void of nutrients. The nutritional deficiencies are an important factor because people who are pre-diabetic are deficient in things like zinc, chromium, magnesium, and are also low in essential fatty acids. Last but not least, exercise is always recommended, even if it's just walking for 20 minutes. So to make all of this change possible, a structured system needs to be used. Well, my system works like this. I have people eat according to a meal plan that puts their body into a biochemical state to burn excessive fat, especially abdominal fat, while not having any hunger. In between meals, a nutritional snack is taken to prevent any cravings, as people will be on an elimination diet. We have one program for men and a different one for women because of their metabolic differences. We also have 7 different meal plans that we provide so that there are 7 suggested breakfasts, 7 suggested lunches, and 7 suggested dinners. And that way people do not get bored with what they eat. For example, if the suggested 60 grams of beef or the 35 grams of spinach for dinner is not to your fancy, you will have a simple way of substituting the protein or carb as shown in this slide. With approved substitutes. A 4-page symptoms questionnaire is completed before this eating plan is started. And that same questionnaire is something you complete at the end of 3 weeks. This is to monitor how you are doing. Here are listed the 14 health conditions that we evaluate in this questionnaire. For example, the results of the questionnaire initially may show 5 severes, 6 moderates, and 4 mild conditions that are due to things such as bad food habits, excessive weight, nutritional deficiencies, or a chronic condition. But as you go on to our elimination diet and lose excess fat, the changes in the responses to the same questionnaire 3 weeks later can give great insight as to the root cause of your symptoms. With this new questionnaire, the new results may now change to, for example, 1 severe, only 2 moderates, and 4 mild. To a trained specialist like myself, this provides a wonderful insight into the root cause of your symptoms, and it gives a roadmap on steps needed to prevent diabetes and promote your wellness. All of this information will be provided and explained at the end of 3 weeks, where an action plan is provided to cover 1, abdominal fat status and how much more weight needs to be lost. 2, blood sugar support needs if unhealthy eating habits are resumed. 3, existence of potential food sensitivities or allergies that may need to be addressed. 4, the possibility of chronic conditions that need attention. 5, correcting nutritional deficiencies to prevent chronic conditions from developing. And 6, I also have a host of other important wellness markers that will be explained at the meeting as well. Now, if these wellness markers I mentioned before are ignored, over time, they will, I repeat, they will become disease conditions. Now, a great example of this is that diabetes is costing America $174 billion a year. This is because people are waiting to become diabetic instead of preventing it with programs like mine. So, don't you be the last one to jump onto the prevention bandwagon. The greatest gift of health you can give yourself is to determine if you are, one, pre-diabetic. If so, take the required steps needed to reverse this dangerous condition before it is too late for you. And in the process of taking over, this process, you will experience weight loss, increased energy, better sleep, and overall wellness. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to me and this presentation. To learn more about diabetes prevention, please give us a call at 510-849-1176. Goodbye and take care.